think that it's a bit ridiculous. It is a bit ridiculous because, like, there's no it's only the Fever that'll ever get punished for this. It's only the Fever. And again, maybe there are situations where people don't say it, but like Stephanie White, she just admitted that she got fined. For what? She just got fined for saying she wants the officiating to be...
Stephanie White quickly learned what happens when you challenge the WNBA refs to do their jobs properly. Spoiler, she was fined faster than a technical foul in a kid's game of tag. Her crime? Telling the truth about the officiating, suggesting that the referees might be calling games as if they're watching a different sport. Instead of addressing the concerns, the league reached into its overreaction drawer and penalized her as if she committed a serious offense. It's a clear message. Speak out about officiating and you'll face punishment rather than accountability. This heavy-handed approach only fuels frustration, highlighting the league's reluctance to accept honest criticism and improve the integrity of the game.
What would be the main one, you think, if you could just pick one top area?
Are you trying to get me fined again?
No.
Because I did just get fined.
Stephanie White wasn't shouting, throwing chairs, or channeling Bobby Knight. Instead, she did something far more threatening in the WNBA's eyes. She used reason. She advocated for her players, her team, and, brace yourself, held officials accountable. Heaven forbid someone suggests that the officiating has been as inconsistent as a toddler's bedtime. In response, the league hit her with a heavy punishment, as if she had committed a major offense. It's clear that speaking up about officiating issues is met with harsh penalties, revealing a league more interested in silence than transparency or fair play.
Definitely what you see on the last play from Caitlin, and then on top of that, what'd you think of your team's late game execution?
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that.
Let's be clear. White didn't go rogue. She wasn't calling refs clowns, though if the shoe fits. She simply spoke out after her Indiana Fever team faced a series of games where officiating resembled a blooper reel from an untrained referee class. And what does the league do when someone points out the chaos? They fine her. Not the referees, not the replay officials, just her. It's like blaming the weatherman for the hurricane. Instead of addressing the real issue, the league punishes the messenger, highlighting how little accountability there is when it comes to officiating problems.
This gotta stop, bro. So Caitlin Clark's coach has just been fined over $1 million after this altercation she had with the ref that's going viral, and the WNBA thinks that she crossed the line and is fining her $1 million, which we all know is more than her salary. You're gonna tell me she's gonna lose $1 million for that? The WNBA is just
Let's not pretend this is about maintaining professionalism. This is the WNBA trying to silence anyone who questions their questionable, crystal ball strident officiating. The Indiana Fever aren't just any team. They entered the season under a brighter spotlight than a solar flare thanks to rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. You might have heard of her? She's brought more attention to the league than a dunk contest at a chess tournament. Now that the league's in the national spotlight, the officiating crew apparently decided this was the ideal moment to showcase their lack of understanding of how to properly manage a basketball game. Instead of addressing the issues, they penalize White, revealing a league more concerned with control than fairness.
Sure you? Nobody gives a fuck that you got fined. I can guarantee you that. Nobody gives a shit that you got fined. You got fined, so now you go into the post game and you don't defend your players, you don't stick up for your players, you don't address the clear physicality going on with your team compared to every other team. The clear hand checking that goes on to your star player compared to other star players. Now we're headed in the cloud.
So naturally, Stephanie White speaks up and says, maybe we should protect the players. Maybe we should call the fouls happening right in front of us. Maybe just maybe consistency would make a difference. But the league responds as if she attempted to leak nuclear codes. The message is crystal clear. Criticize the refs politely, and you'll be fined. Why? Because the WNBA officiating crew has the confidence of a wet napkin and the resilience of tissue paper. They can miss calls Stevie Wonder could see, but mention it aloud and suddenly you're public enemy number one. They don't want feedback. They crave blind obedience. See something? Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is out there taking a brutal beating, as if she's part of a wildlife documentary. Opponents take turns shoving, elbowing, tripping her, and even exercising her mid-court. Yet the referees shrug as if they've forgotten their glasses. They only blow whistles when she breathes near a defender, calling offensive fouls. This selective officiating sends a clear message. Unless the rookie fights back, the assaults are ignored. When she does try to defend herself, suddenly she's overreacting or inciting trouble. It's a stark display of bias where blatant fouls are overlooked unless they involve Clark's retaliation, which then gets called as a foul on her. The league's inconsistent calls highlight a troubling double standard, undermining fairness and player safety.
And she got fined for making comments about the officiating. Like, and there's a reason why this got deleted from the Fever's official press conference. There's a reason why this got deleted from the Fever's press conference. Like, so she called out teams being overly physical in game 2. So then in games 3 and 4, they just hacked Caitlin, and the WNBA made a point to not call anything on Caitlin. They made a point to not call anything. Like, they actively made it a point. After Stephanie White came out and said, you know, we're being they're allowing them to just shove us. We need to expect that the referees aren't going to give us anything. And then she goes, after she says that, they made it a point to not call fouls on Caitlin.
The most tragic-comic aspect of all this is that Caitlin Clark's injuries are piling up because the refs treat every foul against her as if it's part of the game plan. Remember that time she was knocked down so hard she almost traveled back to Iowa? The referees just stood there, seemingly mesmerized, as if they were watching a halftime show. What exactly has to happen before they blow the whistle? Another WWE suplex? A real stretcher? Or do they need someone to call in an airstrike just to get a foul called? And make no mistake, this isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about how the league handles whistleblowers, no pun intended, who criticize poor officiating. It's about a coach trying to protect her players, while the league appears more concerned with maintaining its image than player safety. This bureaucratic, tone-deaf attitude makes it seem like the league office is inside a soundproof echo chamber, because apparently the biggest threat to the WNBA isn't bad refereeing, it's the people who dare to speak out against it.
This don't make no sense, man. This don't make no sense. I think Stephanie White has had enough of all the bullshit going on in the WNBA.
Let's be honest. If you've watched just 10 minutes of recent Indiana Fever games, you'd see that the referees have perfected turning non-calls into an art form. They seem to be competing for a spot in the Louvre for their abstract interpretation of basketball rules. You'd probably get better calls from a coin toss or a magic 8-ball. Fans are starting to wonder if the refs are operating under some new system called vibes officiating, because that's the only way to explain calling phantom fouls on one end and ignoring blatant two-hand shoves on the other. And what does the WNBA do? They target the one person brave enough to speak up, Stephanie White, like she's the problem. It's like blaming the smoke detector for the fire. Maybe instead of penalizing her, the league should look into why she's upset in the first place. But that would require accountability until we consider that they are actually the same game. And instead, they prefer to silence
Stephanie White, and I guess in one case it sort of lets her off the hook for not having challenged the foul on Lexi Hull on the drive into the basket by Sabrina Ionescu that allowed her to shoot the free throws that essentially clinched the ball game. I did not know this, and I think what really got me thrown off was, and I tried to find the clip to that play because the CBS announce team said Stephanie White's got a challenge left. All right, when that foul took place, CBS said she's got a challenge left. Well, it didn't matter. She couldn't use it.
Instead of addressing the real issues, the WNBA is playing an aggressive game of whack-a-mole with anyone who dares to voice dissent. Speak out, bonk. Here's a fine, speak out again, a bigger bonk. Try it a third time, you might as well hand over your mortgage and car keys. At this rate, the league could start fining coaches just for breathing too heavily during a tense fourth quarter. Oh no, Stephanie White flared her nostrils after a missed call? That's clearly an act of sedition. $10,000 0 cents fine. We run a tight, joyless ship here. Soon they'll be handing out laminated emotion regulation charts to coaches with strict boundaries for acceptable feelings. Smile too long after hitting a 3? Warning. Roll your eyes at a missed travel? Suspension. Raise an eyebrow? That's assault with a deadly arch. See you in arbitration. Show human empathy when a player limps off? Lifetime ban. Welcome to a league where humanity is quietly suffocated beneath a mountain of bureaucratic nonsense, turning what should be a passionate sport into a sterile, emotionless machine.
Stephanie, the offense sucks. With Caitlin Clark in the lineup, the offense sucks. Without Caitlin Clark in the lineup, the offense sucks. The only time this offense has looked good in the past year has been the second half of last WNBA season. This offense sucks. Bad, garbage, basura. Throw it away, flush it down the toilet. Drop it off at a bus stop and never...
And can we please, for the love of basketball, stop pretending that criticizing officials is some grave sin that undermines the integrity of the game? The real issue isn't dissent. It's when referees officiate as if they're multitasking, blowing whistles while scrolling through Instagram or ignoring clear fouls. It's when they miss egregious calls, treat obvious injuries as theatrical acts, or treat elite athletes like street fighters instead of professional players. They turn the game into a farce. That's what erodes the sport's credibility. When coaches or players point out these mistakes, it's not insubordination, it's accountability. It's a way of saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't let blatant fouls go unnoticed just because the ref's peripheral vision was elsewhere. The integrity of basketball isn't built on silence or submission. It's rooted in fairness, transparency, and competent officiating. If referees did their jobs correctly, coaches wouldn't have to speak out or complain. But when they fall short, someone has to call it out. Fining players or coaches for caring about the game's standards? That's not protecting the league. That's simply embarrassing. The sport deserves honest officiating and respect for the game's integrity.
I'm not even going to talk about the foul situation because those refs fucking sucked. And I'm not just saying the non-calls for the Fever, just the calls in general. There were calls against I don't understand how some things are fouls in the WNBA and then some things aren't fouls. You got hand checking, you got pushing, grabbing jerseys, and then you got someone lightly touching somebody. And it's a foul. It's like, wait, that's a foul?
But hey, maybe the WNBA believes this is good PR. Maybe they think fining a coach for defending her players will make fans say, finally, someone has the courage to punish common sense. But in reality, no one's buying it. Fans are furious, players are frustrated, and the league appears allergic to criticism. It's a terrible look, draped in pettiness and poor judgment. And let's consider the optics. The league is trying to grow to gain national attention, yet instead of showcasing excellence, they're spotlighting authoritarian tendencies. Rather than supporting their athletes and encouraging accountability, they're doubling down on silence and punishment. They're alienating the voices that matter most: coaches, players, and fans who demand fairness. Stephanie White exemplifies the passionate, principled coaches this league should be elevating. Those who advocate for safety and integrity. Instead, she's being penalized for speaking out, for challenging the officiating. What's next? Therapy puppies for officials? Trigger warnings before post-game press conferences? Warning, today's game may contain honest criticism. Viewer discretion is advised. This approach not only undermines the league's credibility, but also discourages open dialogue and transparency, which are essential for genuine growth and respect in the sport.
That was not underneath the basket. That was hard to see. The back-to-back. She had her back to her. It was in the open area. At least two of the refs, if not three of them, should have seen that foul. Caitlin pointed to it. They still didn't blow their whistle. She goes over there, and she played on the ball. She clearly was not letting her arm.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's golden girl, is getting body checked like she accidentally wandered onto an NFL field wearing a "Hit Me" sign. She's not just taking contact. She's being bulldozed, elbowed, hip-checked, and flattened, as if she's competing in an Olympic contact sport. If she somehow makes it through her rookie season without requiring a full-body cast, it would deserve its own ESPN documentary. And the referees? They're practically statues with whistles, silent, stoic, and seemingly unaffected. Their relentless refusal to call obvious fouls makes Switzerland look aggressive. You could crush Clark with a wrecking ball, and the lead official would probably squint, shrug, and call it incidental contact. Next time you tune into a Fever game, don't just watch Clark's shooting stats. Pay attention to how often she hits the floor, as if auditioning for a WWE cage match. Watch Stephanie White on the sidelines, slowly turning into a human pressure cooker, trying not to explode every time her star player is mugged without a call. The real problem isn't officiating incompetence, it's that the league seems content with the chaos. What it truly fears is that the public is starting to notice. And once that happens, you become the real threat, exposing the league's flaws and undermining its carefully curated image.
All of the established stars in this WNBA constantly, quietly, privately complain to their coaches and to their team executives about Caitlin Clark getting way too much attention and way too much credit for the exploding TV ratings. The attitude I sense from so many other older WNBA players seems to be, what do we chop liver? It's not just her driving these ratings. What have we been doing all these years? Sorry, ladies, but compared to her drawing power, you are chopped liver. You're just going to have to accept that she, and she alone, is driving the ratings way above what all of you together were able to generate before she first set foot on a WNBA stage.
The WNBA has made its stance crystal clear. Coaches are expected to smile politely, nod in approval, and act as if the officiating is nothing short of perfection, even when it's more like a flaming dumpster fire rolling downhill. In reality, the game is messy, unpredictable, and often inconvenient to the league's carefully curated image. Acknowledging officiating flaws, that's considered reckless and unprofessional, reserved for amateurs rather than the polished, image-obsessed universe the league wants to project. In this bubble-wrapped utopia, everything is always perfect. Players are invincible, and referees are infallible divine beings. Pointing out obvious missed calls or questionable officiating? That's treated like sacrilege. The league prefers its coaches to be puppets in a PR show, not outspoken advocates for fairness and transparency. When a coach voices frustration, not out of malice but honesty, the response isn't constructive dialogue, it's punishment. Because in their eyes, maintaining the illusion of perfection is more important than addressing the cracks in the system. Heaven forbid anyone suggest that the league's referees might be a little off-key, or that the Emperor's whistle could use a tune-up.
It's unbelievable that the WNBA just refuses to take this W. They refuse to take the win that is Caitlin Clark. They are putting every landmine in front of them. Players and members of teams are calling entire fan bases racist. Brittany Griner, when asked about new fans of the game and more eyeballs on television to the product and everything else, says, oh, yeah, I don't want the new racist fans. All these racists that are in the league that like Caitlin Clark. I don't like what's going on. I certainly don't like that. I don't want them. I mean, just take the W. It's going to mean more money for everybody.
But don't worry, fans. As long as coaches like Stephanie White continue to speak out, even at the cost of fines and public scrutiny, there's still hope. Hope that someday, someone in the league office will finally realize that enough is enough. When coaches are penalized for defending their players, while referees consistently miss blatant calls and dodge accountability, something is deeply broken. White's willingness to speak up publicly isn't just brave, it's essential. She's not just making noise, she's sending up flares, illuminating the issues that can no longer be ignored. The more flares that go up, the harder it becomes for the league to pretend the smoke isn't there. This isn't just a basketball season anymore. It's evolving into a full-blown drama, filled with fines, controversy, and questionable officiating. The league might try to silence voices like White's, but as long as she and others keep calling out the truth, the pressure will only intensify. So bring your popcorn, your receipts, and maybe even a whistle of your own. Because this circus isn't slowing down. If anything, it's gaining momentum, and everyone's got a front row seat. The show continues, and the spotlight on officiating and accountability is only getting brighter. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribing. More videos are on the screen now.